So Carmen has survived the Molasses Flood, as promised. She's still in the hospital, and we still don't know if she's going to be heading back to Italy. Chapter 13. Carmen was getting stronger, but doctors worried about the wound on her leg. They told her she needed to stay in the hospital at least another week. Carmen was tired of lying in bed, but at least she wasn't lonely. Mrs. Grasso came every day with a feast of pasta or lasagna. Mr. Ortelli brought boxes of cream-filled cannoli and crunchy biscotti she shared with the nurses. Frankie brought his baseball cards. Teresa and Marie sat on Carmen's bed, braiding her hair over and over. Mr. Lawrence brought books. Carmen visited Mr. Vita. He still wasn't back from Connecticut. Oh, Carmen missed Mr. Vita, thinking how could she visit him? Carmen missed Mr. Vita. He still wasn't back from Connecticut, but Mr. Paolo stopped by one day. "You have a visitor," Mr. Paolo said, but she had to wait outside. He helped Carmen out of bed and to the window, and there, tied up in front of the hospital, was Rosie. "We found her near the stable," Mr. Paolo said, or what was left of it. The stable had been destroyed along with the fire department and almost every other building around that part of the waterfront. Carmen couldn't imagine how upset Mr. Vito would be, but at least his other horses were all safe. They'd been far from the North End when the flood happened, and now Carmen could see for herself that Rosie was all in one piece. The cut on her neck is healing up fine," Mr. Paolo said. Carmen opened the window. "It's good to see you, girl," Carmen called out to Rosie, waving. The horse's ears perked up. She let out a long, happy whinny. Tears sprang into Carmen's eyes, and not only from the relief of seeing Rosie unhurt. Carmen realized she'd probably never ride Rosie again, because not only would she be leaving the hospital soon, she'd also be leaving America. Oh. Nobody had mentioned that Carmen would be going back to Italy, but someone would soon. Carmen was sure. Mrs. Grasso had probably already packed Carmen's clothes. Carmen shut the window, forcing those thoughts out of her mind. She had to focus on getting better right now. Of all the people who came to visit, it was Tony she looked forward to seeing the most. Tony told Carmen what happened after they were separated. His ride on the broken wagon had been short. He'd been swept out to the commercial street where the river of molasses became shallower and shallower. He'd sloshed his way out and wandered around in a daze. "It was terrible," he told Carmen, his face darkening, his voice dropping down to a whisper. The bodies, bent and broken, so covered with molasses that he couldn't tell if they were men or women. People crying in pain, injured horses, the mothers screaming for their children, police everywhere. Mrs. Grasso was already looking for him, searching frantically. She'd found him pretty quickly. "And then we looked for you," Tony told Carmen now, his lip quivering. Mrs. Grasso had gone to the Haymarket Relief Station, a small hospital near the North End. That's where they'd laid the dead out. Men who'd been working around the waterfront, a woman who lived in a house along Commercial Street, 2 10-year-old children who'd been near the tank. But not Carmen. More than 150 people had been hurt, carried away by the river of molasses, trapped in crushed buildings, struck by flying metal when the tank exploded. One man was blasted all the way into Boston Harbor. Injured people were in hospitals all across the city. It was 3 days before Mrs. Grasso finally found Carmen at Boston City Hospital at the South End. Tony told Carmen something else that shocked her, what the molasses company was saying about why the tank broke apart. "They say someone put a bomb in the tank." Carmen sat up in her bed. "Those liars!" she exclaimed, her face so furiously loud a nurse had peeked in to shush her. But she couldn't believe it. Everyone in the North End knew why the tank shattered, because it wasn't built right. Even little kids knew that. The tank had leaked from the moment it was built. "Don't worry," Tony told her. "Nobody believes them." Carmen could only hope Tony was right. On her last day in the hospital, Carmen barely slept. Every time she drifted off, she'd fall into a nightmare. She kept reliving the moment when the wagon almost flipped, when she was drowning in the sticky darkness, when she heard Papa's voice calling to her. And now Papa's voice echoed through her mind again. Hold on, hold on. Why was she still hearing those words? Carmen was safe now. Nothing was going to sweep her away. But Papa's voice only got louder. Hold on. What was Papa trying to tell her? What should she be holding on to? Should she be holding on to America? Sometime in the wee hours of the morning, Carmen got out of bed and limped over to the window. The moon was bright and the flickering black street lights cast a glow on the city. She could almost see over to the north end. Somewhere out there, the Grassos were curled up. 2 girls under tattered covers, 2 boys on the floor, 2 parents in the bed across the room. Her school was out there too, waiting for the students to arrive the next morning. Mr. Lawrence had his lessons all planned out. A warm feeling spread through her body because she suddenly knew what Papa was telling her, to hold on to their life in America. The life they had built together, the friends they had made, the school she loved so much. She took a deep breath, lifting her chin. "I hear you, Papa," she said. Right then she knew she could not go back to Italy. If the Grassos needed help paying for her food and clothes, she'd figure out how to get a job. There would be people here to help her. The Grassos and Mr. Lawrence and their neighbors. Rosie, too. It would be very hard, Carmen knew, to work and also go to school. Anything was possible didn't mean everything would be easy. But Carmen would hold on, no matter what. All right, so she's determined to stay. How do you think she'll